Welcome to Herbally Yours, an adventure into the world of natural medicine. Here is your host, Dr. Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse who will help you take the leap to ultimate wellness.
And greetings. Thank you so much for joining us today right here on another edition of Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Herbally Yours brings you the latest information about the many facets in the world of natural living. Today, we are so happy to have as our guest Heather Dawn Godfrey. She's got a lot of letters after her name. We'll ask them what those are about. And we will be talking about one of her many books. This one is called Essential Oils for Mindfulness and Meditation. Heather is an aromatherapist, fellow of the International Federation of Aromatherapists, and an aromatherapy teacher. She has published a number of articles as well as research papers exploring the benefits of essential oils, such as how they can be applied in the management of ADHD. Heather worked for a number of years at the University of Salford, Greater Manchester in England, in the School of Health Science and Social Care, where she was program leader for the Integrative Therapy in Practice degree and module lead for aromatherapy. Today, we will be discussing one of her books. This one is called Essential Oil for Mindfulness and Meditation. So thank you so much for joining us today, Heather.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, could you please just tell me your website again?
My website is www.aromantique.co.uk.
aromantique.com.uk. Yes?
.co.uk.
Okay, because I know that I was looking at it earlier, and it was really chock full of very, very specific information, which is what our questions will really focus on today, the very deep specifics of aromatherapy. But going back in time, what do all these things mean after your name, like PGCE?
Okay, that's postgraduate certificate of education. So I did a teaching degree after I did my degree, so that I could teach officially.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then what is an FIFA?
Okay, that's the fellow of the International Federation of Aromatherapists. I was made a fellow member due to my research practice and my research around essential oils. So they honored me with a fellow membership.
Oh, that's wonderful. Because, I don't know, is that an international organization or is it more of a UK-based organization?
It is an international organization. They have centers all over the world. It originated in the UK and then is extended to Asia. I do believe there's some locations in America as well, Canada and other places around the world.
Well, I'm really excited to note that I've been involved in studying aromatherapy, and we have had other people on in the past that is their focus. And it's such a huge range of interests in aromatherapy and in teachings of aromatherapy. Everything from, using it as a scent to actually the very deep studies of what goes on, since the oils themselves, which are essential oils, are lipophilic, which means fat-loving, and they're able to transverse the skin layer and actually go into the bloodstream and have very specific phytochemical actions in different areas of the body.
Yes, that's true. There's very many ways that essential oils are used, and very, very different ways of learning about them depending on what you need. But they have both a psychological, emotional influence, so that you just need to smell them, and the odor molecules, the various odor molecules will enter through the olfactory system. But they also, as you just said, if you put them on the skin, usually we put them on the skin in a carrier medium. Essential oils are both water-loving and fat-loving, and so they will irritate the skin if they're not put in a medium that enables them to penetrate and create a surface barrier so that they don't irritate the skin. But they do break down and into their water-loving and fat-loving components and enter through the skin cells and the pores within the skin into the bloodstream, where they then circulate throughout the whole body system. So then they find their target and are active in that way. But then they are excreted very quickly, so they don't stay within the body for very long.
Oh, they don't. Now, so when you say not stay within the body for very long, let's say somebody was using it for a specific health issue. They would have to reapply it, let's say, daily?
Yes. They metabolize within the body and then they're excreted, or the components are excreted. The thing to remember with essential oils is that it's not the whole essential oil that penetrates through the skin. It breaks down into its components. And some of those components will enter into the body system more slowly than others. So some of the water-loving components will ease through quickly, whereas others will stay within the superficial layers of the skin and then ease through gradually. So you don't get the whole essential oil penetrating via the skin. You get various components because essential oils are made up of hundreds of different chemical molecules, and so those molecules break down and then penetrate into the skin. They're then circulated via the bloodstream through the organs and the tissues, and then they're excreted. So you would need to use them regularly, although you'd need to have a break as well, but you do need to use them regularly to get a persistent effect. But then you can stop once you've reached that target.
Okay, and they vary, so it's probably best for someone, rather than just guess, to discuss the case with someone who is trained in aromatherapy.
Absolutely, yes, definitely, because each oil is a combination of different molecules, each with varying and different actions. And so to hone in accurately, you do need to know which essential oil, which molecules you need to apply, which essential oils will have the ones that you need for your specific cause. They're very. You also have to be very careful because some of them can interact. So some of the molecules can interact with, for example, medication or other medicines. So you do need to know before you're taking them whether that oil is safe for you to use.
Now that is a very good and educated mention, and I do want to tell our guests that you are listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse, and my guest today is Heather Dawn Godfrey. She is the author of a wonderful book called Essential Oils for Mindfulness and Meditation, and many other books as well. She's a real specialist and highly trained and recognized for her expertise in aromatherapy. And Heather, I want to pick up on something you just mentioned, because so often, especially just let's say with the general public, and although I think that essential oils are very safe and it's something people can even use the word play with when they're new to natural remedies, they are not without possible adverse effects. And, sometimes people are just eating them like crazy. Some of the, especially multi-level companies, are telling people the more the better, just dump all this essential oil in everything and drink it. And I actually personally know people who have used it on their cats, and their cats actually died.
Yeah, this is absolutely true. It's quite scary, actually, the information that's out there at the moment. It's splash it on all over attitude. That is not the way to use essential oils. They are chemicals, highly concentrated chemicals, which you must remember. So one drop contains hundreds of chemicals that you wouldn't find naturally in the plant in that quantity. So there's a very big difference between taking an essential oil or consuming an essential oil and a herb. The other thing to remember is that the essential oils are the volatile chemicals that are extracted from the plant, and that if you're taking a herb, it also has the trace elements within the plant, in a smaller quantity. So you are taking a protective a dose as well. Whereas with essential oils, it's stripped away. You've just got the volatile chemicals. They're very active. They're very concentrated. They can cause skin irritation. They can cause mucous membrane irritation within the esophagus and the internal organs. So they must always be used with an emollient. So you would never take them neat. You would never put them on the skin neat. I'm quite horrified at the advices that are out there that you should just splash it on your skin. Or, you may get away with it a couple of times. But the essential oils are extremely drying to the skin. They vaporize very quickly from the skin, and this causes the skin to become very dry. And then added to that, you've got the chemical which is drying. And so eventually you become sensitized, or you cause skin irritation, which can manifest as just red, dry, itchy skin or blisters. Or you can develop an allergic reaction if you overuse them. So you do need to use them with great care, with caution. They are highly beneficial when they're used properly, and I advocate them all the time. They're wonderful healing agents, but you do need to respect them, and you do need to respect that they are chemicals that need to be consumed or applied topically with great care.
I want to thank you so much for that, because that is exactly my view after many, many years and many years of studying and using essential oils. And that's why we're having you on as a guest, and that's why you are the author of Essential Oils for Mindfulness and Meditation, Relax, Replenish, Rejuvenate. So I will say those two things are going on concurrently. Essential oils are one of the first interventions that I have seen as a professional nurse starting to be integrated into mainstream hospital settings, which is very, very exciting.
Yes, it is. It's really wonderful. They have so many qualities that are very, very complementary to healthcare. You've got, for example, the antiviral, antiseptic aspect of them, so that they will combat infections and sort of the antimicrobial. But they also have a wonderful hedonistic effect as well. So they can be relaxant, calming, they can be uplifting. So in this respect, working with patients within hospital, you get sort of a multi-level influence from essential oils that you can apply. So a lot of people who end up in hospital are often very, very stressed, and so applying essential oils to calm and to relax and to sort of sedate is wonderful. And because they're so pleasant, I think it's very, very pleasurable. It's nice. It's a nice way of applying them. Also, there's so many other sort of healing components within essential oils that can be used medically. But to use them medically, you do have to have a biomedical qualification. I'm not recommending that the layperson or anybody just applies them as a cure-all. You do need to be very, very clear and very aware of what you're doing with them. So, but within a hospital context, you have the benefit of being within a biomedical environment where you have those around you who've got pharmaceutical knowledge and would understand how to apply the essential oils therapeutically. So yes, they are multi-dynamic, very exciting and very wonderful things to use to help cure.
Well, we're going to talk about more of the oils in particular when we come back, but I want our listeners to know, and welcome listeners, you are listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Listen live online at nccradio.org, or, so exciting, join us on iHeartRadio. For more information on today's guest or topic, email whpc@ncc.edu or visit our archives for a quick link to her website. Stay tuned. Herbally Yours will be right back.
If your skin could talk, would you listen? Stop tanning and protect your skin from melanoma, the second most common cancer in young women 15 to 29 years old. Learn more at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
And welcome back once again to more on Herbally Yours. This is Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse, and I'd love to invite you to join us in our many classes and workshops. Almost every single day we offer an online class where you can learn to incorporate natural therapies into your life, or perhaps train to incorporate natural remedies into your career. We have the Natural Nurse Herbal Certification course and many other classes such as Outside Herbal Identification, where we pick up plants and make them into medicine. You learn which ones, the right ones, which ones are poisonous, which ones are medicinal. So all of those things are great. We're here with our guest, Heather Dawn Godfrey, and we're talking about her wonderful book, Essential Oils for Mindfulness and Meditation. Heather, you did a wonderful background discussion about your expertise and the importance of aromatherapy and the fact that in some cases it's being used incorrectly, but let's dive into the correct use. And since I imagine when you're talking about mindfulness and meditation, what is mindfulness and meditation and its relationship to essential oils?
Okay, mindfulness and meditation. It's very vogue at the moment. Meditation is an ancient practice, and so is mindfulness. And it's about being able to bring yourself into the moment, to draw yourself into a still space within yourself, so to be here and now. So there are various techniques that enable you to draw your consciousness. Sometimes using the breath is one of the techniques. So just focusing on breathing, for example, your breath going in and going out, up and down, drawing your attention to your breathing brings you to the here and now so that you become more conscious, more awake of what is going on around you immediately and what is going on inside you immediately. So instead of your mind just rambling off, which our minds take us into the future, into the past, worry about bills, working something out in our head, playing out conversations. We're never quite here. We're always in that space within our head. And so the point of mindfulness and meditation is to draw us back in, to draw our consciousness away from that chatter. You never stop it. It's just part of the mind. It's just the way the mind works. Our mind is a computer, and it's very, very useful, and it helps us to work things out. It helps us, it guides us through our life. But there are times when we need to disengage it because we become so focused on it that we lose consciousness of our own being, our own self, our own awareness. And so meditation is a way of quietening the mind so that we can then be still and be conscious and aware of being with ourselves, being with that essential part of us within us. So looking out through that lens. And essential oils in that context, because of their effect on the limbic system, they enable us to concentrate. They help us to come into the moment because through the act of smelling an essential oil, just smelling the odor, it draws your attention to the here and now. And so that's a starting point. And then the next wonderful effect that essential oils have is that they influence our mood and emotion. They can calm us. As I said before, they uplift us. But another wonderful thing that they do in terms of meditation is they help us to concentrate. They help to focus the mind. They help to focus our attention. So they support meditation in that respect. And they also, because odor is very, very closely linked to memory, we recognize memory from a very old part of our brain. It's an intrinsic part of our survival. So our sense of smell is linked to memory very, very closely. This means that when we smell an odor or smell a scent, we're instantly reminded of where we were when we smelt that, or what was going on for us when we smelled that odor again. So if you diffuse an essential oil while you're meditating, while you're feeling very calm and very still, and then you inhale that scent again later during the day, it will remind you, it triggers off that memory of being calm and still, which in turn then reminds you to be here and now and to meditate in the moment. So there's a very, very good relationship that we can apply between meditation and essential oils. It's a very ancient one. Essential oils have been used as fumigants and scents and used in spiritual ceremonies, etc., for millennia, for thousands of years. So it's not new. It's a very, very old, I was going to say marriage then, but of course meditation is primary. Meditation is the first thing we do when we're born is we breathe. Everybody wants us to take a breath. So that is the primary thing that we're doing. And the essential oils are complementary to that process. They help and support.
Well, I want to remind our listeners that you're listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse. And today, my guest is author and aromatherapy expert, Heather Dawn Godfrey. And we are talking about her book, Essential Oils for Mindfulness and Meditation. And you may want to visit her website. It's a plethora of information, aromatique.co.uk. It's beautifully done, and it talks all about the oils in particular. And let's go there now. Let's go to some of the, there's so many aromatherapy oils available. How does someone know if they're getting a good quality one versus, sort of a commercial rip-off one?
Yeah, this is very difficult because it becomes so popular. There are so many companies now that do sell essential oils. The thing that you need to look out for is what the label says. So you want a pure essential oil, 100% pure essential oil. That means nothing added, nothing taken away. It's a pure essential oil. You want to know that there's a batch number so that it's traceable. And also you want to know that it has a safety data sheet or safety data information that goes with that oil, and good companies will give you that. So you're looking for nothing added, nothing taken away, pure essential oils. There are various companies. Some companies will bulk out essential oils with cheaper oils, so you'll get more expensive oils like Rose or Melissa bulked out with other citral oils to make it more cost-effective. So it's really important to get to know the company that you're buying the essential oils from, to do a background check, and to make sure that they can provide you with all the safety data information and information about the chemical constituents with each batch. I hope that answers the question.
So let's talk about some very, very specific oils. What would be a really good one that's particularly safe and something that people can start with, for something in particular, like you said, mindfulness, or perhaps another one of your specialties, ADHD?
Oh, yes. One of my favorite oils is frankincense. This is wonderful for so many things, but particularly for hyperactivity. Vetiver is another, patchouli, lavender is another, but frankincense in particular, I have had some wonderful results with. It has this amazing capacity to slow the breathing quite naturally, so that your breath becomes deeper, and immediately that happens because you're getting more oxygen. You then feel less anxious. So it's wonderful for calming anxiety and for stilling agitation. But it's also lovely for meditating because of that deepening of the breath. And this is why frankincense is used in spiritual ceremonies. We have the resin that's burned in churches and in other religious and spiritual processes. And one of the main reasons is this effect, this influence it has in terms of slowing the breathing down, giving this sense of peace and stillness, which in turn connects you to that, if you want, that spirit within you. You become conscious of the peace and the stillness, the calmness within, and then you relate that to the spirit within you. So it's used quite a lot in religious ceremonies, but it is very, very useful for anxiety, hyperactivity, and depression as well, which comes on the other extreme, doesn't it, of anxiety. So they tend to be two ends of the same continuum.
That's so true. When you talk about frankincense, of course, that is one of the things that was supposedly brought to baby Jesus by the wise man. So we're talking about something that has a very, very intense and long history.
Yes, and a very special one as well. very precious, and including myrrh. Myrrh is another resinous oil. Frankincense comes from the resin of the frankincense tree, so it's a resinous oil, and so is myrrh. And the other thing with a resinous oil is it's very, very good for healing the skin. It's also very, very antiseptic, antiviral. So with frankincense, you have got so many wonderful qualities that you can use and apply. So if you wanted to use it, it's good for skin irritation. So a lot of the time with anxiety, you get comorbidities that accompany. So for example, somebody who's anxious may also have eczema or may have skin irritation because it's a trigger from their anxiety. So frankincense would soothe that as well. So it has such a plethora of sort of qualities that sort of embrace holistically the whole condition of anxiety. So it is a wonderful oil, and same with myrrh. Patchouli is another one, as I mentioned before, as well, that has a similar effect, but isn't as famous as frankincense is.
Yes, both of those have most people have recognized them too, because it's something that you can actually smell in churches. And that is a good place to start. What's another oil? We're going to be ending pretty soon, but you have time to mention, let's say, one other oil that people could start with as newbies to aromatherapy.
Okay, so as newbies to aromatherapy, my 3 oils, and I guess 4 if I'm including frankincense, would be tea tree, lavender, rose, and frankincense. Rose is extremely expensive, but it has a multitude of wonderful, wonderful qualities. If you can't afford rose, I would recommend rose geranium. It's a very, very sweet, lovely, uplifting smell. Lavender and tea tree are fantastic first aid oils. If you use them for nothing else, they're wonderful first aid oils. They're antimicrobial, they're antiviral, antiseptic. And they're also, lavender is very calming, aids sleep. Tea tree is very good for shock. So you have a lovely, with those oils, those 4 oils, you have a lovely starting pack, as it were, to get you started. So you could experiment quite safely with those oils. Again, remembering to reduce them. So you would use 1 or 2 drops. You don't use lots of drops, as I've seen advertised through certain companies. You just need 1 or 2, and you always put them in an emollient, so a vegetable oil, a cream, a perfumeless cream or lotion, or if you're using them in an emergency, say for example, if you have a burn, you could even put a drop of lavender and butter.
Okay, well, we have to end right here, but I want to thank you so much for being our guest today. It's a wonderful show about aromatherapy. We have been speaking with author Heather Godfrey about her book, Essential Oils for Mindfulness and Meditation. I want to thank you for tuning into Herbally Yours, produced at the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For further information, email whpc@ncc.edu. This is your host, Ellen Kamai, at naturalnurse.com, inviting you to join us next week for another edition of Herbally Yours. Until then, stay healthy.